Hello and welcome to this ASMR record collection video. I'm so happy you're here tonight, and I'm excited to share an assortment of records with you. As usual, I will share an eclectic assortment of records that span multiple genres, multiple decades, but are united by certain themes. And tonight's video centers on one of my favorite albums of 2025 thus far, and that record is Japanese Breakfasts for Melancholy Brunettes and Sad Women. So the theme of tonight is melancholy, that longing with a bit of sweetness in it, that pensive state of sadness that isn't quite grief, but is almost an aesthetic emotion. So this record is lovely, and it just sort of inspired an ode to melancholy. We'll come back to this at the end, but for now, I'll show you a couple of other beautiful record selections that touch on themes of melancholy. This first one may seem quite unrelated. It's an old cowboy music record. I believe it came out in 1959, and it's the Sons of the Pioneers, Cool Water. Cowboy music has a special place in my heart. It always has. I love that combination of, it's uniquely American. It combines a soulful feeling with almost a folk music, an old folk music feeling, probably from English and Irish folk songs from immigrants to the United States. And it's a particular kind of longing in many of these old cowboy songs. And that's especially apparent in the title track on this one, Cool Water, which is all about someone riding through the desert and kind of being tormented by a series of mirages, and just that longing for water. And here you see on the cover art this parched cowboy just leaping down to drink water, with his horse kind of looking a bit weary in the background. Just some gorgeous singing. The Sons of the Pioneers is a really interesting group. They formed in the early 1930s and had a radio presence and a recording presence, and kind of with an ever-evolving cast of members, performed continuously from the early 30s all the way into, I believe, 2023, and may still be performing. I am not sure. If you know, please enlighten us in the comments. If you know more about Sons of the Pioneers and whether they're still performing. But these songs are just gorgeous, and there's so much melancholy, so much longing. This kind of romantic with the capital R idea of the solitary rider, keeping himself or herself occupied with these melancholy songs. This music connects kind of specifically with my own heritage because I have many cowboys and cowgirls in my lineage, and there's a deep resonance in these songs for me. So I'll read you the song lineup, as you can see on the back. More of these illustrations in a similar style to the front, but it's black and white on this side. You can see the horses up here, and it looks like a stagecoach. And this solitary rider over here. And just like on the front, you see this kind of sans serif font. Very simple. Looks quite vintage. I see a lot of brands using a similar kind of neo-vintage font lately. And I can see why. I love this contrast between the vivid yellow of the background and this bright blue, and you can see the reflection of the sky here. Just lovely, the blue and yellow contrast. Some of the songs on this one, on the first side, we have Cool Water, Whoopie Tayayo, which is a traditional song, Wind, which is a really gorgeous song with multiple harmonies, and it's the feeling of the melody really works well with the theme of the song. Listening to the wind and wondering what it's carrying on its, with it, and there's quite a bit of longing in that song as well. Cowboy's Dream, which is another traditional song. The Last Roundup, Riding Home, Twilight on the Trail, Red River Valley, another wonderful song of longing, and Wagon Wheels. The second side has Riders in the Sky, Blue Prairie, which is so beautiful, such a beautiful melody. If you haven't heard it yet, and maybe many of you have, but I am sincerely excited for anyone who hasn't heard the melody of Blue Prairie or of Wind. It's quite a treat, and I think you'll love it. Way Out There, Empty Saddles, Teardrops in My Heart, Blue Shadows on the Trail, Riding Down the Canyon, Timber Trail, and Tumbling Tumbleweeds. From the liner notes in the back, I'll read you a little bit. For half a century, I have sung and played cowboy songs and watched them grow into one of the most important parts of the folk music of our country. And for most of those years, I didn't hear them coming from a radio or a record player. I heard them coming from cowboys like myself in the days when I punched cattle, drove a stagecoach, and was at various times a big game guide, head coach, and packer and wrangler. Throughout these times of my life and through all the years, the music of the West has always been as important to me as the food that I ate. We didn't sing our cowboy songs or play the guitar to break into show business, as so many people believe. The cowboys sang then, as he does today, to calm his restless herd of cattle, to soothe his horse, or to simply keep himself company on the lonely trail. He knew from a sentimental song he could bring close any animal from an elk to a long-tailed lizard and make him stand like a statue, and that changing to a quick-time piece would make him sway and wag his tail like a rattlesnake. So, we'll move on to the next one. So now we'll make a leap across time and historical context to another of my favorite records that really gives me a sense of romanticism and longing and melancholy. This beautiful record, Rachmaninoff plays Chopin. These recordings come from between 1921, I believe, and 1930. Rachmaninoff playing some of Chopin's polonaises. And there's so much life in this record, so much beauty in his interpretation, Rachmaninoff's interpretation of Chopin's pieces. Knowing that Rachmaninoff admired Chopin, was heavily influenced by his work, there's that extra love that you can almost hear in the execution and in the style of his playing. Just perfect aesthetics, I think, for the cover, and just a complete joy to listen to. I love to put it on a rainy day and just feel the sweet melancholy romantic feeling that it engenders in me, and admire the music. So, and I misspoke, it's not only polonaises, it's several different types of forms. I'll read to you a little bit from the liner notes of this one as well. Listeners may be surprised to find that a composer of the stature of Rachmaninoff took liberties with the dynamics and even the printed score in the performances of Chopin, especially recorded performances. This tells us much not only about the artist, but about our own alienation from our musical past. As time passes, the Rachmaninoff recordings will be more and more treasured for the joy of being able to hear such perfect piano playing, as objects of study for insight into the romantic tradition and spirit, and for a glimpse into a line of a great performer-composer, perhaps the last of a long line. Yes, this one is very much worth checking out. So much life in it, so much beauty. This next album, is from 1972, and it's Joni Mitchell, For the Roses. Again, plenty of longing and melancholy on this one. One of the things that I love most about it is it gives me incredible frisson. I just get tingles and tingles and tingles every time I listen to it, from the melodies, I think, and also just the tone and quality of Joni Mitchell's voice. The melodies are unexpected, so I think that even though I enjoy so many melodies in a certain way, they're not surprising. Frequently, it's easy to predict what note is coming next. These melodies are hard to even describe. It almost reminds me of classical music, the way that she puts it together. And also this album is a bit more jazz influenced than her previous albums. And that jazz influence is just incredible, but it's grounded in her usual folk sensibilities of the time, and what a beloved album. The album cover is gorgeous. This wilderness kind of Joni Mitchell sitting pensively by a body of water. This blue-green kind of monochromatic landscape. And on the back, it's quite similar. The trees. And the inside is interesting in that it has lyrics on one side, and then this line drawing by Joni Mitchell on the other side, and her signature here. And there's an additional layer here, which I am not sure that I can show you on YouTube. It is a quite, I would say, tasteful and wholesome nude, but a nude nonetheless, of Joni Mitchell looking out onto the ocean. She's standing on an ocean rock, and you can just see her from the back, her hair and everything, but she's naked. So we will leave that one to the imagination, but apparently that's, an image that she considered for the cover of the album. And another possible cover that she kind of wanted to do was a drawing of a bouquet of flowers that were coming out of the backside of a horse. And this was sort of a commentary on the music industry for her. She's becoming a bit disillusioned with it, apparently. And just the range of emotion on this album is pretty amazing. I'll read you the song titles. Banquet, Cold Blue Steel, and Sweet Fire. Barren Grill, Lesson in Survival, Let the Wind Carry Me, For the Roses, See You Sometime, Electricity, You Turn Me On, I'm a Radio, Blonde in the Bleachers, Woman of Heart and Mind, Judgment of the Moon and Stars. So there's a variety of different instruments on this album, from electric guitar and bass, drums, percussion, to strings and harmonica, and woodwinds and reeds. Perhaps a little bit less famous than the record that came just before it, Blue, but I think still some of her best work, most incredible work, and in my opinion not to be missed. But tell me what you think, if this is a favorite of yours, or if you decide to listen to it. What are your impressions? I would love to know. Next, we have Future Islands, singles. As you can see, the cover art features this very pared down image of a woman, headless and without lower limbs, sort of floating in the sky above the ocean. Whenever I see this image, I think a little bit about Nike at the Louvre, and how she doesn't have a head or limbs, but is beautiful nonetheless. So there's almost this mythical quality here. And this is what the sleeve looks like. Let's see here. You can just see these very tiny portraits of the band members. This album came out in 2014. It was the first one that made the band especially famous after a viral performance on the David Letterman show. And the songs on the album include Seasons, Waiting on You, Spirit, Sun in the Morning, Doves, Back in the Tall Grass, A Song for Our Grandfathers, Lighthouse, Like the Moon, Fall from Grace, A Dream of You and Me. So this album fits into our melancholy longing theme as well. Although there's a sense of urgency to my ear kind of mixed in with the longing. It verges more into desire, and there's a driving kind of, like I said, urgency in the music, in the lyrics, in the delivery of the vocals. I especially love the vocal range on this album. It reminds me a little bit of kind of 1980s, early 90s new wave, and there's a lot of kind of stylized, almost like David Bowie-ish vocals here. Definitely emotionally inspiring and gripping, and that longing, it comes through on pretty much every song. So this is a favorite. And finally, we have the album that inspired all of it. Japanese Breakfast for Melancholy Brunettes and Sad Women. And we have this almost still life memento mori style image here with the skull and the beautiful table laid out, and the band, the lead singer Michelle Zauner, kind of with her head down at the table. And here she's looking kind of romantically into the distance on the back. I absolutely love this cover art. This atmospheric blackness behind her, kind of mysterious. And I'll show you the inside as well. These really interesting line drawings and lyrics. This is another very literary album. Michelle Zauner, as you may know, has also written a best-selling memoir, so she is not a stranger to literature, and that really comes through in this album, which has quite a few literary references, mythology, and a John Cheever short story, among others. Something I find especially interesting about it is the delivery of the songs. They're quite emotional content, but the delivery is not, to my ear, overly emotional, but the lyrics definitely are emotionally charged, and each song has a different narrator, so it's rather than sort of a confessional first person feel like we might have with Joni Mitchell. We have these songs sung from different perspectives. For example, kind of a lonely father or a lonely young man who is not, hasn't had any luck romantically. And that's kind of that longing is turning dark. So that's something that it's almost like a collection of short stories with different narrators. Speaking to us in first person. That's one thing that really stands out to me about this album. As well as the kind of beautiful, shimmery, atmospheric quality of the music. And the sweet voice, of course, as well. So it's a gripping album. It is quite infused with a sense of longing and covers themes of desire. I'll read you some of the songs. Here is Someone, Orlando in Love, Honey Water, Mega Circuit, Little Girl, Lita, Picture Window, Winter in LA, Magic Mountain. I strongly recommend this album. Let me know what you think. Something kind of unique about this one also is the vinyl itself. It's a very elegant, plain sleeve. And then this just beautiful pink, iridescent, seashell-like vinyl. Just gorgeous. Oceanic, shell-like. And the title of the album, as well as the songs, are written kind of in a kind of handwritten in calligraphy. Very unique, beautiful. So that is For Melancholy Brunettes and Sad Women. So that concludes our little ASMR video for this evening. Thank you so much for joining me. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and share any ideas for future videos you may have, whether it be vinyl or books. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.